All right, I want to turn to Andrew Brander now and Jamie Ellerton. They're both conservative strategists. Hello, good morning. Glad you could be with us. I'm going to start with you today. Andrew, what do you think is going on in the party right now as this voting is taking place?
Hey, thanks, Marcia. Well, I assure you that Conservative leader Erin O'Toole is probably putting his best foot forward and trying to remind members of Parliament and those who might still have questions around his leadership why he is the best choice. To continue down the path that he has started the party. You'll recall he very much used the last election to try and convince Canadians that the Conservative Party had changed, had taken a new direction. Now he's got to do the same with his members and convince them that this is the only path that's going to lead to a Conservative victory for them. So he's certainly going to be reminding his members, his colleagues, that this is the path to victory.
Jamie, is it too late for Erin O'Toole?
It really does seem like it, Marcia. I think I've been using the analogy of it's like your sports team's 8 games back with 10 games to play. Mathematically, there's still a chance, but no one actually thinks it's in the realm of possibility. I think when you look at how this has been simmering for months, Erin O'Toole's lost people who have been supporting him throughout with how much inaction there has been since the last election. So it's definitely the day of reckoning. I think the best thing for the party at this point is indeed have clarity moving forward so that some of this simmering that continues to fester and just frankly undermine the party as a whole can finally be put to bed.
And Andrew, Jamie was with me yesterday and we were talking about the party being in crisis. What's your assessment of where the party stands right now and if they're having an identity crisis? Where do you go from here?
I really don't know if it's an identity crisis. I think, to be quite honest, there's always some effort to have this talk about soul searching for the Conservative Party. I think that the people who have taken the most issue with Mr. O'Toole's leadership have an issue with the foundation of what that is, leadership. And so I think really. What's clear and evident today for those who disagree with the direction of his leadership, those who agree and support the leader, I think everyone agrees that, this needs to be dealt with now. The position before of, waiting until a membership review that's 18 months away was simply untenable. With members of caucus undermining Mr. O'Toole on a regular basis. So regardless of where they stand on the position, it will be good for the party to deal with this today and hopefully be able to move forward from there.
Jamie, what about that? Do you think it is about Erin O'Toole's leadership, or do you think it's about ideology and what it means to be a Conservative?
Marcia, I actually do think it's all of the above. And I think if you look at kind of where we've seen fracturing within the Conservative coalition, there does not seem to be kind of any path forward that Erin O'Toole is presenting. I think if you look at the polemic debates that he continues to constantly get pulled into and kind of please no one on either side of it, real leadership is going to find a way to bring people together and create a new opportunity for how we discuss these things. So even if you take something like social conservative issues, which come up time and time again, instead of trying to relitigate the social debates of the 80s and 90s, talk about how we can support families, all families as they exist in a modern Canada, and help grow strong communities and really protect those institutions which ultimately allow the country to flourish. But instead, we kind of continue to get pulled into these polemic debates, and I think that's a problem for the party. I think as the party regroups and goes forward, whether it's under Mr. O'Toole's weakened leadership coming out of this episode today or in a new leadership, the party needs to move from these polemic debates and actually pave a path forward that allows us to put forth actual solutions to the challenges of today, as opposed to the kind of tired of politics that we're seeing across the political spectrum.
Andrew, who do you see stepping in, at least in the interim?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around. Obviously, we've seen. I think the biggest challenge actually in this when you're specifically referencing the interim leader is going to be that question. The Reform Act very explicitly lays out that a vote for the interim leader must happen immediately. So there really isn't a lot of time for those to campaign for that position should it become available. I'd imagine that vote would happen later this evening. And so really that does become a critical role, because the decision on a leadership timing falls to the National Council. And so far, we've heard nothing from them in terms of when that actual convention would happen. It might make sense to pair it in with the party's convention that's already planned, as I referenced, about 18 months from now. So that interim leader position is going to be vital for the Conservatives really demonstrating a path forward. And you'll remember last time that position was held by the former leader. And a lot of people said during that time it was sort of lame duck and wasn't used appropriately. So, I'm really looking forward to who might step into that role if there's a need.
Jamie, final thought to you then. Whoever the interim leader is, what are the challenges? Do they have to have some sort of superpowers to unite the party?
They're probably a more reconciliatory type personality as opposed to someone in the more robust side. This will be a leader that's probably not going to have much of the spotlight and is going to try and keep the team rowing where it agrees, as opposed to, say, having their profile raised as a result of this. And I think in terms of the 18-month timeline, I don't think it needs to be that long. Marcia, let's remind your viewers, it was late January of 2018 when Patrick Brown resigned in disgrace as Ontario PC leader. Doug Ford was elected as leader in March of that same year, and then premier later that June. So there's precedent for this moving quickly. And I think everyone says necessity is the mother of invention. And I think if Conservatives can rally to put forth and get through this process quickly and expeditiously, I think it bodes well and gets signaling to Canadians that we're serious and ready to govern whenever that next election comes.
All right, we'll see how today plays out. Jamie Ellerton, Andrew Brander, Conservative strategists, I thank you both for your time.